Mario Kart World is finally here, and with it comes the ability to freely roam the open world. Every track in the game is interconnected, and you can veer off any which way you like to explore the world at your leisure. Free roam was one of my most anticipated features when it was first revealed, but it remained to be seen just how far you could go with this. Content creators across the globe have made it their mission to traverse open worlds with bizarre restrictions, but is Mario Kart World the exception? It's time to put pedal to the metal and put the question to the test. Is it possible to cross Mario Kart World without steering? Now you might be thinking that doing this without steering is too heavy a restriction, and that this challenge is completely and utterly insane. And yes, have you seen any of my other videos? As the map isn't detailed enough to gauge the furthest points in the north and south, here's the plan. Starting from Acorn Heights, the track furthest north on the map, I'll have to travel all the way down to the finishing line of Dino Jungle, the track furthest south. To do this, I can take any route to my destination that I'd like, but steering is completely off limits. But let's clear up exactly how I'll be moving around. Naturally, I can accelerate and reverse, and pushing my kart into terrain will be one of my key strategies. However, Mario Kart World has added a few new techniques which I can thankfully take advantage of. By drifting without holding a direction, I can ready a charge jump to gain some air and boost my speed. In addition, by hopping up towards certain walls, I can wall ride. Both of these tricks will be essential for navigation, as they allow me to change my position and my kart's orientation. Lastly, if I do a charge jump while reversing, I can pivot 180 degrees without needing to steer, making it a little easier to move around if I'm caught facing the wrong direction. And if I'm fortunate enough to encounter grind rails on my path, I can try to use these as well. With that, this is still a tall order, as demonstrated by the first area and the first major roadblock, Acorn Heights. From the starting line, I have no choice but to reverse, as the steep cliffs to the north are too tricky to navigate. And though reversing gets me to the river, I quickly find myself stopped by trees. So let's talk terrain, as it's naturally the biggest obstacle throughout this cross-country trip. If the terrain is even, like straight walls or cliff edges, I can wall ride to progress with ease, but obstacles like this tree can be more difficult to overcome. Thankfully, it doesn't take me long to find a solution. I back up into the river and let the current push me towards this P-switch, starting one of the mini free roam challenges. Most notably, these reposition the car towards the challenge, allowing me to drive upstream more easily. To be fair, at least now I'm not going straight into the tree. I'll fail the challenge, but that's not why we're here. We have our own challenge at play. Though the good news is, both rivers that I can see coming out of Acorn Heights go south, which is what we need. So far so good. While another tree threatens to block my route, I'm able to get past it by using the river current and a few nearby NPC drivers, who collide into me and nudge me just far enough to wall ride past the tree. I progress a short distance until I'm stopped by a wall that I'm unable to ride, but I find another way to progress. By driving into a wall and immediately reversing, I'm able to rotate a tiny amount, which is just enough to reorient the car to follow the river further. With this, I actually have a pretty clear path ahead. I'm not going to have a lot of clear indication as to where I am, but based on that, I'm going to assume that's Boo Cinema, which actually I think means we're kind of going the exact right direction right now. No. So as some of you might have already realised, I would not pass an orienteering course. I thought I was here, and in my defence, this spooky staircase does look fitting for Boo Cinema. But turns out I was actually over here, right by Dry Bones Burnout. The big giveaway here is the fact that this route is to my right, making it impossible for my original theory to be correct. So clearly just recognising where in the world I am will be an additional challenge. Either way, I had a big correction to make, though thankfully in an effort to drive away from this incorrectly identified track, I find myself in a brand new area of the map, Mario Circuit. From our starting point of Acorn Heights, this is directly south, which is more on track than I expected to be at this point. But Mario Circuit is a bit trickier to navigate than I'd hoped. The short walls are impossible to wall ride, and I quickly find myself getting stuck. Eventually, I managed to turn the car around using a nearby slope, allowing me to escape out of the east side of the track. After hitting a few fences, vending machines, and innocent bystanders, I finally find myself with open road ahead of me once more, eventually coming to a river just on the north side of Dandelion Depths. The river is in a tall valley, and while I could use the river current to try and bypass it, I opted to slam into the wall to reorient myself and drive downstream instead. I'm gonna hope that this is Dandelion Depths, or near there. So far so good actually. Although, I am a bit concerned because I see a massive cliff ahead of me and I've got no idea how I'm supposed to climb that. Please tell me there's a tunnel. I maintain good speed with tricks and wall rides where possible, until I reach the entrance to an underground passage with another river. Slamming the cart into the wall proves just as successful as always, and I'm rewarded with some fantastic luck for my perseverance. Oh, okay, that's good. And more importantly, we know where we are as well, Dandelion Depths. I find a couple of item blocks in my path, and collecting them I receive a feather and a mushroom. The feather allows me to jump, while the mushroom gives a burst of speed, both of which will be fantastic tools if I find myself in a pinch. And as if on cue, I find myself staring down another challenge. Accelerating through the river led to me getting stuck against this pillar, but while reversing, I spotted a nearby ramp which held the answer to my escape. I lined myself up by crashing into the cavern walls before riding up the ramp and into the nearby booster, with results far better than I could have dreamed of. Oh my god, it is gonna work. Okay. Oh my god, wait! Wait, that's so good! That worked out so much better than I was expecting. Not only had I escaped what could have been a treacherous underground cavern, but I'd ended up back on the surface heading the perfect direction. Unfortunately, this didn't last, however. Let's take a quick look at our map. We've managed to correct our course a little bit by crossing through Dandelion Depths. A few wall rides with obstacles directly in my route threw me off course towards the next major obstacle, Peach Stadium. This is no doubt the most chaotic obstacle I've come across so far. Approaching from the north side, I cross through a busy road with loads of NPC drivers. I try to leverage the busy high road to push my cart towards my preferred direction, but this proves more challenging than I'd hoped. Drivers will, perhaps unsurprisingly, come to a stop if you're parked in front of them, so the only way to nudge is by quickly driving into them before they can brake. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay, so large vehicles, buses. Time to cause major traffic accidents? Too true. I suspect this argument would fall flat against a car insurance provider, but regardless, I'm not able to change my orientation effectively on the road, which brings us to the second major issue. Actually, maybe oh my gosh, wait, what the? Oh no, we can't go down there. There's no way. Yeah, okay, well, we turn around. Surrounding Peach Stadium is a giant moat. While I could take the plunge and dive in, I wanted to avoid doing so. On solid land, there would be enough obstacles and terrain features that, with enough grit and perseverance, I could effectively reposition or reorient my cart in whichever way I needed. But in the water, I'd be at the mercy of whatever direction the walls would force me to go. So I was determined to remain on dry land as much as possible. Unfortunately, traversing the stadium was still easier said than done. Reversing, colliding with cars, and crashing into walls all seemed ineffective, until I found myself pinned against this pillar just beside the main bridge. I suspected this bridge would be my best route forward, but I couldn't find a way to squeeze past, though thankfully I still had my feather in hand, and without much alternative, I decided this was the best place to try it out. I mean, I could use I might have to use the feather actually, just to get over here. Oh, but if it doesn't work, I'm gonna be so upset. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. Okay, nice, we're over. Now the question is this actually going to push us the right way? Thankfully, the feather had worked out, and with this I'd officially entered Peach Stadium, placing me almost exactly in the centre of the map. But here I faced possibly the greatest dilemma of all. The route ahead was a long ramp down towards the ocean, with no walls, obstacles, or objects I could use to reposition. However, proceeding forwards to the ocean presented all of the same problems of the moat, amped up to 10. If I became stranded at sea, it would be near impossible to change direction. I considered reversing and trying to completely reroute, but ultimately it seemed that crossing another body of water would be unavoidable. And hey, I figured I could always just reverse, head back to Peach Stadium, and try again, right? So I took the plunge and delved into the waves, and quickly realised just how bad an idea this was. Oh no. Oh, I fear I made a terrible mistake. How am I going to reposition in the open ocean? I mean, this is just going to go all the way, right? I'm feeling nervous about just continuing to go forward. What's this ahead of me? Driftwood. Great. Amazing. My orientation was slightly too far to the right, meaning I'd end up somewhere between DK Spaceport and Koopa Troopa Beach. Much like a bleary-eyed castaway looking for any semblance of hope, I was searching for anything I could use to get me back to dry land. And then, eventually, I spotted something far off in the distance. A ship. The southern seas have a few different ships sailing around, and while I had no idea what route this ship would take, I knew this was my only chance to somehow correct my course. Wait, there's no way I can just ride this. Oh my god. Okay, wait, but if this were going the other way, it would be perfect. This is so ridiculous. That's DK Spaceport. I need to be going, like, that way. Oh, jeez. Alright, I think we just ride this for a while. Surely it turns around. It's kind of turning at the moment, right? Or am I imagining that? Am I literally hallucinating? Oh, okay, that's definitely turning. Yay, or do not. No, 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 do not fall off. I will cry. So, how's everyone doing? This is so ridiculous. Okay, that's Peach Stadium again. Which, yeah, I actually think so far this is fine. God, could you imagine if I didn't find this boat? I would be so cooked. There's no way it can keep going forward. Right? Oh, yeah. Here we go. I'm turning right. If I can get off and get back on solid land, that will be the best way for me to reorient myself, I think. You're moving to Faraway Oasis? Yeah, that's where I want to be. And actually, I think it might be time to get off soon. While riding atop the ship, the days turned to night. Lining up in what I hoped was the right direction, I eventually made the decision to disembark. Alright, we're gonna try it. Goodbye, boat. Thank you for everything. Because my hope is that this route here will lead back to a river, which will then inevitably lead me back to land, right? And actually, this looks promising. I'm feeling good about this, actually. Alright, we're back on solid ground. And I have to think we're somewhere between Cheap Cheap Falls and Faraway Oasis by this point. Though my misadventures in the open sea had almost left me stranded, we were now surprisingly back on track. I had disembarked on the north side of Faraway Oasis, meaning we were just a short distance away from Dino Dino Jungle. And considering how far we'd come since Acorn Heights, the finish line was seeming more and more in reach. Now that I was finally back on solid ground, I hurried through the open savanna. The sights of elephants and bison confirmed that I was near Faraway Oasis, and eventually I spotted the Great Question Mark block ruins in the far off distance. But I still had to find a viable route that would take me to Dino Dino Jungle. Eventually I came across some waterfalls, which guided me along the coast until I arrived at a junction which looked like the most promising location yet. It might be, actually. Wait, that is it! Oh my god, there's a pterodactyl right there! Okay, I need to do a 90-degree turn. Against all odds, I'd made it right to the border of Dino Dino Jungle. But despite coming so far, actually entering remained a considerable challenge. The off-road was cordoned off by a chain link fence on either side, and I didn't have much terrain nearby to reorient, though eventually enough collisions into the sides of the nearby cliffs pushed me closer and closer towards the right angle. And though the road was sparse, I found a Toad driving into Dino Dino Jungle. Be my hero? Come on, Toad. Wait, that might... There's no way that's enough, right? Oh, I think we're through. After a quick thanks to Toad for the most fortuitous roadside collision I could have hoped for, I was finally here in Dino Dino Jungle. Now all that remained was to find the finish line, which admittedly proved harder than it should have. Even though I knew it would be nearby, I didn't actually know which direction I needed to go. So I opted to simply go deeper into the area, using wall rides, trees, and dinosaurs to progress as much as possible. Wading through jungle and escaping prehistoric perils, after what seemed like an eternity, I finally spotted my final destination ahead of me. Oh, there it is. We've done it! There it is. Oh, and 200... With this, it was official. I'd successfully navigated from Acorn Heights to Dino Dino Jungle, traveling cross-country to cover the entirety of Mario Kart World from north to south. For the curious, this took about an hour, and the route I took looked a little something like this. And I'd be curious to see how much further you could take this idea. Perhaps going through the outer ring of tracks, or taking a different route from west to east. Regardless, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other content. I do a lot of similar videos with pretty absurd challenges, and I'm sure you'll find something else you'd enjoy.